So on the bar work, before that, we have tendus, we have battement tendu, battement jeté, we have rond de jambe. Fondu is and then we have the plié, but fondu it is the first step students to do plié on one leg while the other is doing other things. So this is a transformative moment right here. It's the coordination issue and the weight shifting issue, and also the supporting leg stability and alignment in the forefront of the topic. So let's address those things one at a time. First of all, placement. When you go down this knee, if you ask for a student to lift those heels up, it should be easily done. So the weight, the majority of the focus, it should be on the toes, on the ball of that foot. So if the weight is on the heel, if the heel bury any weight, you're gonna grow the muscle on this thigh because the student is not using the anatomy, the principle of the plie. Instead, the students are using the muscle to plie just because it needs the muscle to hold the balance. Otherwise, it's gonna fall that way. So whenever there's one leg in ballet, I believe the weight has to be on the ball of that foot. So the gauge is, if I put a rope with the hip directly down, should line up with those toes. Under that circumstances, you push the weight over the supporting leg. You should be on your leg very comfortably. And what helps to move the weight onto that foot is those toes right here. So I believe you should never be slow into a cou-de-pied position. It should be, that movement has to be decisive. It doesn't have to be a brick like this, but this foot from fifth position to solo cou-de-pied has to be quick and decisive and clear. It should go like this. There shouldn't be any kind of transition, anything like that. And those toes, this movement right here, it's important to create that clarity. Also, where is solo cou-de-pied? Where is the pinky toes reside? A lot of times to me, when I see a student, oftentimes they're too low. This is not a cou-de-pied, it's too low. I see all the time because the reason why I see so many students from all different training these days, never had it before these days, is, I open up my own programs, online programs. I have students from all over the world, including from Australia. They come from very different training, and I see all sorts of cou-de-pieds, all sorts of things. Cou-de-pied, you either wrap, they all call solo cou-de-pied, you wrap, or on top of that ankle bone. It should never be almost touching the floor. That's too low. So that's the placement of it. When you go down in the cou-de-pied in the plie position, the students should be easily let this hand go. It is in that state, they are comfortable, quote unquote comfortable. If you shift your weight onto your heel just 2 inches, the pressure, the wrong pressure is creating on that supporting leg. Okay, that's one thing I want to talk about. This is the placement. The other, knee has to over the toes. Not this way or this way, anything. Knee has to be absolutely over the toes. And over which toes, ladies and gentlemen? I want to specify only the top 2 toes, which is on the ridge of the arch. Because the ridge of the arch, the foot design is strongest. It's on the top of your arch. It's absolutely strongest. You should never roll one way, definitely not the other, because the foot is not supported properly if it is on the side, on the slope of that foot. You know that off foot, if you look off foot, the ridge, so-called arch, is not in the middle of the foot. We know that very well. The arch is toward inside. So when you plie, it is not onto the entire foot. It is on the ridge. Put pressure on the ridge on the arch. That's where the plie should go, in my opinion, because that's the plie is the strongest. Then I want to talk about fondu itself, to melt. So this step is down and up. At one point you have to come up, right? You come front or side or through retrograde, whatever. It has to come up. So we only melt down. We don't melt up. This is one thing I want everybody to, you don't have to agree with me, but just hear me out. There's 2 different dynamics in fondu. One is the fondu part, the melting part, which is down, come up. Unless something you want to specifically train, which is you wanted to train the transition or something you want to work on that day or that week. Normal circumstances, on the way up, we need energy and dynamic, in my opinion. You go 1 and 2. You see, the come up speed is different, especially actually for women. Why? It's the point shoe situation. Only this speed, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and is realistic on point. So from children, for kids, there's no point to train them fondue like this. To me, there's no value to it. Unless that day you want to work the transition, you want to work open the thigh, all that goodness, yes. But eventually, the muscle memory on the way up, you have to have energy to it. You don't melt up. That's one thing that I wanted to say. And degree of the fondue, degree. In most cases, to me, it's too high. Too high. Fondue really should be 45 degrees. That's it. 45 degrees is a very, very important degree. Kids today, it's up here. They don't do anything down there. They're losing a huge part of training and the necessity for their technique. It's a 45 degree. This is where actually we hold our body without interference of our hip plate. You know that very well. 45 degrees allowing us to not to move our hip, not to shift our hip plate at 45 degrees. The leg should be at that degree with total freedom, without any interruption of our hips or shoulders. If you fondue to me, you really don't need to do anything. It just, you see, it's just the hip plate is absolutely at the same degree. Same shape. So please make sure students recognize where they are and practice fondue in normal circumstances at the 45 degrees. Talking about other elements for the younger level, I recommend spend just a little longer in this position. As I talked about this before, they need the time, they need the strength in their legs. Don't be afraid. If you say, you know what, they gotta build, they gotta bulk up, they gotta build the muscle. No, never. I don't have scientific evidence to tell you why not. It just never. It won't work. It doesn't work. Maybe it's just because of rotation or something. It doesn't. They will never build the muscle like gymnastic athletes. Never. So spend the time.